The story begins with a lonely boy named Jiro. Ever since he was a child, everyone around him believed he was strange. Feeling frustrated, Jiro vents his problems to his only companion, who encourages him to embrace what makes him different. The funny part? The one giving him life advice is his dog. So it's not hard to see why everyone thought Jiro was unusual. Jiro was born with a rare gift, the ability to understand and speak with animals. While he saw it as perfectly normal, everyone else found it creepy. As the years passed, people avoided him, leaving the neighborhood animals as his only true friends. Jiro always protected them no matter the cost. One day, he catches a group of delinquents bullying a few animals. Without hesitation, he jumps into the fight and drives them away. Grateful for being rescued, a cat and a crow thank Jiro, explaining that those troublemakers have been tormenting them for days. Jiro simply smiles and says it was nothing before heading home. The moment he walks through the door, his grandfather notices his bruises and realizes Jiro has been fighting again. Furious, the old man scolds him, saying he didn't teach him the secret techniques of the shinobi so he could use them in street fights. He accuses Jiro of disgracing their family name. But Jiro couldn't care less about family honor. He snaps back, saying the family name means nothing to him. That single sentence sends his grandfather into a rage. He grabs the family's treasured katana and starts chasing Jiro around the house. After the chaos finally settles, the two quietly repair the broken doors together. Before leaving for a community meeting, Grandpa tells Jiro he'll be home late and reminds him to lock the house before going to bed. Jiro reluctantly agrees. Not long after, the same crow from earlier suddenly appears at the window. It urgently begs Jiro for help, saying an injured cat is lying deep in the forest. Without wasting a second, Jiro follows the crow. When they arrive, Jiro finds a badly wounded black cat lying beneath a tree. Neither he nor the crow has ever seen this cat before, and no one knows what happened. The only thing that matters is that it's still alive. Determined to save it, Jiro carefully carries the cat back home and treats its injuries. What Jiro doesn't realize is that this isn't an ordinary cat. Its true name is Reigo, the Devourer of the Sun, an ancient mononoke with terrifying power. Before ending up in the forest, Reigo had been summoned by a mysterious group who wanted to use his strength for their own ambitions. But Reigo refused to obey anyone. Enraged by his defiance, the summoners tried to kill him, leaving him on the verge of death. When Reigo finally wakes up, he finds himself lying in a soft bed inside Jiro's house. Moments later, Jiro enters the room with a bowl of fresh water, relieved to see that his patient has survived. Introducing himself with a friendly smile, Jiro asks the cat for its name. Reigo secretly thinks Jiro must be an idiot. After all, no human should be able to understand a cat's language. But before Reigo can finish insulting him, Jiro calmly replies, "Calling someone an idiot isn't very nice." Reigo freezes in shock. There's no way a human should understand him. Panicking, he quickly hides beneath the bed, trying to figure out what kind of person Jiro really is. Jiro gently reassures him that there's nothing to fear and promises he won't hurt him. Still, Reigo refuses to trust him. He can't sense any spiritual energy from Jiro, meaning he's definitely human. Deciding it's safer to stay hidden, Reigo waits for the perfect chance to escape. Unfortunately for him, Jiro returns a few minutes later with a delicious meal. The smell is so irresistible that Reigo immediately forgets all about escaping. Hunger wins, and he eagerly comes out to eat. Jiro can't help laughing at how quickly the mysterious cat gave in. Reigo proudly declares that no hungry man would ever refuse a good meal. Jiro chuckles and points out that it's strange hearing a cat call itself a man. Immediately, Reigo gets offended. "I am not a cat," he says proudly. "My name is Reigo, an immortal being, one of the legendary Mononoke." Reigo explains that Mononoke are supernatural beings that often disguise themselves as humans or animals, living among ordinary people without ever revealing their true identities. Jiro is fascinated, but also confused. If Mononoke are supposed to be incredibly powerful, then how did someone like Reigo end up on the verge of death? Reigo reveals that another Mononoke was responsible for his injuries. Unfortunately, many of his memories are still missing, so he can't remember every detail. However, he clearly recalls that another Mononoke approached him, asking for his help. When Reigo refused, they attacked him without hesitation. Jiro quickly pieces the story together. It sounds like Reigo rejected their request, and they decided to eliminate him instead. Still, Jiro can't understand one thing. If they're both Mononoke, why wouldn't Reigo simply help one of his own? Reigo's expression immediately turns cold. He says he despises Mononoke like that because they're nothing more than parasites, cowards who pretend to be powerful while depending on the strength of others. After saying that, Reigo shrugs, believing there's no point explaining any of this to a human. Surely Jiro wouldn't believe such an unbelievable story, but Jiro simply smiles. You're talking to someone who's been chatting with animals since he was a kid. Compared to that, immortal monsters don't sound that unbelievable. Meanwhile, deep within the forest, a mysterious female agent arrives at the place where Jiro first discovered Reigo. After examining the scene, she reports to headquarters that she has confirmed the blood belongs to Reigo. However, she can't detect any trace of his spiritual energy, meaning he's likely hiding somewhere nearby. Her superior orders her to wait until the rest of the search team arrives before making another move. She acknowledges the command and disappears silently into the trees. It becomes clear that Reigo isn't the only one searching the forest. Someone else is hunting him as well. Back at Jiro's house, the atmosphere couldn't be more different. Jiro decides it's bath time and gently washes Reigo clean. He's amazed by how quickly Reigo's wounds have healed. Just a short while ago, he was barely clinging to life, and now he already looks almost completely recovered. The moment reminds Jiro of his beloved dog, Nachi. Nachi was huge, fluffy, and always stayed by his side. Whenever Jiro came home bruised after being bullied, Nachi would ask for a bath. Somehow, giving his loyal friend a bath always helped Jiro forget his troubles and calm down. That night, after Jiro falls asleep, Reigo quietly climbs onto the windowsill. He hates leaving without saying goodbye because he owes Jiro his life, but staying here any longer would only put his kind-hearted rescuer in danger. Determined not to drag Jiro into his problems, Reigo quietly jumps out the window. The moment he lands, his legs tremble slightly. His injuries may have healed, but his strength hasn't fully returned yet. Just as he's about to leave the property, a familiar voice suddenly speaks from behind him. "Where do you think you're going in the middle of the night?" Reigo freezes in shock. He could have sworn Jiro was fast asleep upstairs, but when he turns around, he realizes he underestimated the grandson of a shinobi. Jiro had predicted Reigo might try to sneak away, so the figure sleeping in his bed wasn't him at all. It was a clever dummy illusion created to fool anyone watching. Reigo tells Jiro that enough is enough. He appreciates everything Jiro has done, but from this point on, his problems are his own. Jiro should forget about him and go back inside, but Jiro refuses. He reminds Reigo that he was the one who saved his life. As far as he's concerned, Reigo is his responsibility until he makes a full recovery. Reigo sighs and replies that he never asked to be saved. In fact, if Jiro hadn't found him, he would have accepted dying in the forest. The two continue arguing until Reigo finally loses his patience. With a serious expression, he reminds Jiro that he's still a Mononoke, a creature capable of devouring humans. For Jiro's own safety, the best thing he can do is return to bed and pretend they never crossed paths. Before Jiro can respond, an unfamiliar man suddenly walks into the compound. Jiro has no idea who the intruder is, so he immediately tells him to leave because he wasn't invited. The stranger simply sneers, calling Jiro an ignorant human. In the next instant, his arm mutates into a monstrous form as he rushes straight toward Jiro. The sudden attack catches Jiro completely off guard. Just before the blow lands, Reigo leaps between them and shoves Jiro out of harm's way. Without looking back, Reigo leads the mysterious attacker deep into the forest, hoping to draw him away from Jiro. Unfortunately, Reigo still hasn't recovered his full strength. The demon catches up within seconds and brutally slams him into the ground. Standing over the weakened Mononoke, the demon offers him one final chance. He reminds Reigo that their organization worked tirelessly to break the seal that imprisoned him. They never wanted to kill him, they only wanted his cooperation. If Reigo agrees to help them now, everything can still be resolved peacefully. Reigo lets out a cold laugh. If you want my power, then come and take it with your own life. Enraged, the demon charges forward, but before his attack can connect, a flash of steel cuts through the darkness. Jiro suddenly appears, wielding his family's treasured katana and slices across the demon's arm. Reigo stares in disbelief. He can't believe Jiro actually came back. Calling him a complete fool, Reigo says he just threw away the perfect chance to escape. Jiro calmly shakes his head. There was no way I was leaving you here to die. And even if I ran away, once you were gone, that monster would have come after me next. So this was my only choice. The demon slowly transforms into his true monstrous form. Surprisingly, Jiro doesn't flinch even after seeing the terrifying creature standing before him. Instead, the demon studies Jiro carefully. The markings on the katana, his incredible stealth, and the illusion technique from earlier. Everything points to one conclusion. Jiro belongs to a family of shinobi. Without another word, the demon launches a powerful punch. For a brief moment, it seems like the attack connected, but when the demon opens its hand, it finds nothing but a torn piece of cloth. Jiro had already vanished. Appearing high above his opponent, Jiro swings his katana downward with deadly precision. It was a clever ambush. Unfortunately, he had badly underestimated his enemy. Before Jiro's blade could reach its target, the demon disappeared. In the blink of an eye, it reappeared behind him. A single finger pierced straight through Jiro's back. Blood spilled onto the ground as Jiro stumbled forward. Even with such a devastating wound, Jiro refused to surrender. Using the last of his strength, he swung his sword one final time. The demon effortlessly leaped backward, avoiding the attack. A smile spread across its face. It was genuinely impressed. Even after taking a fatal wound, you still tried to fight. But it doesn't matter anymore. No human could survive an injury like that. Watching Jiro collapse to the ground, Reigo is overwhelmed with guilt. If he had never crossed paths with Jiro, none of this would have happened. As the demon notices Reigo staring at the dying boy, it smirks. It assumes Reigo is considering eating Jiro. After all, consuming a human would allow the weakened Mononoke to restore his lost power. Seeing Jiro on the verge of death, the demon smirks. Believing Reigo has finally accepted reality, he tells him to go ahead and devour Jiro's body. After all, consuming a human would instantly restore Reigo's lost power. Surely that would convince him to join their side. But the demon couldn't have been more wrong. Reigo has no intention of eating Jiro. It's true that absorbing Jiro would allow him to regain his full strength, but Jiro risked everything to save him. There was no way Reigo could repay that kindness by taking his life. Instead, Reigo makes a decision that shocks everyone. If someone is going to be consumed, it will be him. Without hesitation, Reigo releases his true form. A massive wave of spiritual energy erupts across the forest as his body transforms into pure power before rushing straight into Jiro. The demon watches in horror. He can't believe what he's seeing. Rather than sacrificing a human, Reigo has willingly entrusted all of his power to one. Moments later, Jiro slowly opens his eyes. The fatal wound in his back has completely disappeared. Dark energy pours from his body as an overwhelming power surges through every part of him. Confused, Jiro has no idea what just happened. Then a familiar voice echoes inside his mind. It's Reigo. Quit standing around. We're still in the middle of a fight. The demon immediately launches another attack. This time, everything is different. Jiro effortlessly dodges the strike, his body moving far faster than before. Even so, he has no idea how to defeat an enemy like this. Sensing Jiro's hesitation, Reigo gives him a simple instruction. Just make a fist. Jiro doesn't understand what Reigo is planning, but he trusts him. The moment Jiro throws a punch, Reigo unleashes his power. A devastating blast erupts from Jiro's fist, tearing straight through the demon's chest. The monster's body is destroyed in a single attack. The battle is over. Jiro stands there in complete disbelief, struggling to process everything that has happened in only a few minutes. But he doesn't get the chance. The enormous burst of spiritual energy has already attracted the attention of the Espionage Bureau. Within moments, armed agents surround the battlefield from every direction. Before Jiro can explain himself or even react, he's struck from behind and loses consciousness.